So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming along. It's February, so this is our second monthly meetup of 2026, and really delighted as always to bring together members and collaborators from across South West Wales to talk about the region, what we can do, how we can collaborate for a happier, healthier South West Wales with a thriving economy. And so great to see you all here for what we hope will be an interesting discussion. As many of you are already aware, 4theRegion has recently published our Transformation 2030 plan, which includes our 5 missions, which are our areas of focus for the coming 5 years. And each of these missions is an opportunity for collaboration and co-creation, and we really hope that these calls offer an opportunity for us to think together about what is needed across those 5 areas of work. And today we're really interested to get into a bit of discussion about one of our 5 missions, which is positive news and local media. It's not something that you hear about often enough, in our view, when people are talking about economic development, when people are talking about the well-being economy, community development. We don't focus enough on what we think is core infrastructure for a flourishing region, which is a locally rooted news and media base. You know, we're thinking about that as infrastructure in terms of how we think about ourselves as a region, what's the connective tissue that joins us all as people, organisations and businesses living in the 4 counties of our region. How do we see ourselves reflected in the information we consume? And how do we connect with what's happening locally when we live in a global media environment where we're receiving our news from global media platforms, and we've lost that sense, perhaps, of local journalism and the importance of those local news channels, but also that storytelling about what's happening in local places. And for example, when we talk to young people, if they're consuming most of their news on social media or global platforms, how connected do they feel? What sense of belonging do they have? And what understanding do they have about what is happening on their doorstep, what the opportunities are for them to build connected lives here in communities in our region, and to feel a sense of identity and a sense of place locally, which is, of course, our reason for being here at 4theRegion, understanding that whatever is going on elsewhere in the world, our futures, our resilience, our opportunity is here on our doorstep. And if we work together across sectors, across silos, across the 4 counties of South West Wales, hopefully we can create that resilience and that flourishing economy for everyone's benefit. So we see the importance of local news and positive media as infrastructure for a stronger regional community and economy. And we see that there's already great stuff happening, and our question is always, how can we shine a light on the good stuff that's already happening and strengthen those assets that we already have in our region when it comes to positive news and local media, and how can we collaborate to create more? What more is needed, and what does good look like? So we hope that these discussions on a monthly basis are an opportunity to share ideas, and then later on in the call, of course, really keen to hear from all the organisations in the room, a little update of what you're doing, and that's part of our work to spread positive news, is really to create these opportunities for organisations and businesses working here in South West Wales to update each other, and to hear good news from across our organisations. I'll hand over to Zoe. Zoe, you've been sending out invitations to this session. I know you've hosted in the past a few conversations with local voices, local social media influencers, and you're really passionate about the importance of positive news. So share your thoughts to open up the conversation.
Thanks, Dawn. Yeah, this is a really key one for us. As Dawn's mentioned, we're always in a really privileged position at 4theRegion where we get to hear about all the fantastic things that happen right across the 4 counties of South West Wales, from Pembrokeshire, Carmarthenshire, Swansea and Leith Talbot, whether that's development and investment, renewable energy, community projects and initiatives. There's a lot for the region to be proud of and to champion. And we're always trying to work out how we can work together to shout about the good stuff that's happening. We've got our social media channels. We've got a newsletter that goes out on a monthly basis. So there's a whole lot more that can be done. And that's really the purpose of this conversation and other conversations that we'll be having throughout the whole year, using the theme of positive news in local media around this conversation at our upcoming conference in March. It's Your Swansea. Again, we'll be bringing that conversation to the room. We've got nearly 700 people signed up to join us for that event. So really excited to bring everyone, get other people's views. And at that event, you are able to join us and host your own individual conversation about social media or local supply chains or renewable or green energy, or what else is there? Community action. And then we'll be using those 5 themes at our other events. It's your Pembrokeshire, it's your Carmarthenshire, and it's your Nice Patalba. We really, really want to bring as many voices around the table as possible, so that it's really helping us shape our 5-year plan, and how we can work together to really get the region talking more proudly and loudly about the good things that we do.
Yeah, I think that's it exactly. That ammunition that we all need to talk positively about what's happening. And when we're better informed about the good stuff that's happening, then we're able to speak positively and with pride about what is going on. And just last week, I had the opportunity to stand on the stage in Swansea Building Society Arena with a room full of thousands of primary school children from across Swansea in an event organised by Race Council Cymru. Uzo, thanks for joining the call. Which was to celebrate Black History 365 and the launch of that here in Swansea. And I'm just reflecting on it because I took the opportunity to talk to all those school kids about feeling proud of where they live and feeling positive about where they live. And I set them all the challenge of, whenever you're out there and you hear anybody speaking negatively about your community or about Swansea or where you live, remind them how lucky we are to live here, and how much opportunity we have, the privileges that we all have just by being resident in this wonderful, beautiful, safe environment, friendly communities, a welcoming place, a city and a county and a region where everyone has opportunity to thrive. And that's our message. It's really inspiring to be able to share that with young people. And I had lots of them come up to me afterwards and say they like my speech, which I think is not bad for a room full of primary school kids.
You did a fantastic job, Dawn. It was wonderful. We had 1,918 people in the arena. Honestly, the children were absolutely bouncing. We had the Windrush elders come as well. But the great thing about it, they heard about music of Black origin being made by diverse ethnic creatives in Swansea. We had a lovely white young Swansea boy that came and said, "Do you know, I was born here. I love singing rap and grime, but I've never had the opportunity to be on a stage. And could I just perform that piece, please?" And he jumped on stage and it was incredible. The kids were so delighted to hear them. We had Layla Mackenzie, who was born in Swansea, Loki Bambino from Swansea, and Mary from Swansea, and my daughter Ify will be who organized it all. Honestly, I'll share the video on our For the Region group. You will be so amazed at what these young people created and put together. And thank you to For the Region for co-sponsoring it and making sure that it happened. And I think the more that we have opportunities to share and have dialogue like this. And like Dawn said, her message was about, energizing the region, coming together as a community, cohesion, and recognizing that, we can do a lot when we do it together for the region. So a big thank you to you, Dawn and Zoe, for your sponsorship. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, as you say, to speak to all those children in Swansea and to inspire a bit of positivity. I think it was a fantastic day. But just one example of how our members across the region are bringing people together in positive ways, doing really positive work and standing up for South West Wales and the opportunities to be proud of here in our region. And hopefully we'll hear more today from different corners of South West Wales about what that means, positive messages, positive news, local media. So the way we would like to open up the conversation is probably to come round the room and invite everyone to introduce yourselves, first of all. Who are you and where have you come from? And why this conversation feels important to you. So really any reflections on what Zoe and I have shared already. Why does this feel important to you? Positive news, local media, your reflections are welcome. So if it's all right, I'll just call on you one at a time and invite you just to share your thoughts with us for a minute or so. Lovely. Well, Natalie, you're joining us from the Swansea Edit. I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us what you think.
Thank you, Dawn. So as Dawn very kindly introduced, I'm Natalie. I'm the founder and editor of the Swansea Edit magazine. We're a local independent glossy magazine that is delivered to homes and businesses and local libraries from SA1 to SA7, so the main boundaries of the wider Swansea county. We work closely with local businesses, storytellers, creatives, charities, and I see it as our sort of mission to tell the stories, much as what you've been alluding to, the positive stories that are shaping the city in which we live. I always think of the magazine, I try to make it a love letter to the city that I was born in, that I've been raised in, that I'm raising children in. I'm Swansea born and bred. I'm aware of the challenges of the city. But I think, much as you said, I think it's important that we raise the narrative, the positive narrative around our city. So to be part of this is incredible. So thank you for the invite.
Oh, thanks, Natalie. Lovely to hear from you and look forward to hearing a bit more as we go on. John Ellis, we'd love to hear from you. Hi.
Hi there. Where have I come from? Well, this time last year, I was here looking for somewhere to live. I moved from Sussex to Llanelli, and my background is IT, developing computer systems, and I now do things around security as in cyber and AI. Do some work with the government on that, and also with businesses on how to prepare so they don't have a disaster when one turns up. And I found that moving here is definitely a nicer pace of life. And yeah, to be honest, I'm just fed up with bad news. And I know, Dawn, I think we met last year when you came to the business chamber meeting. And yeah, the idea of just promoting the good things, and there is a lot of good things going on, is important. So here I am.
Thanks, John. Yes, we met at the Llanelli Chamber of Trade, and so that's another example, isn't it, of an organisation that's trying to bring businesses together in Llanelli to showcase the great opportunities that exist and to enable that kind of positivity around the business community in particular. And interesting, as you say, as someone moving into the region, we hear a lot from people who are landing in Swansea or Carmarthenshire, Pembrokeshire or Neath Port, moving into the area, and we ask them, you know, why have you moved here? And we often receive such validation about the sense of positivity that actually exists here and the welcoming communities and how much is going on and how much energy there is around all these positive change movements that we're part of. I think that really comes across, particularly when people arrive in our region from elsewhere, the quality of life, as John has said, but also that sense that people are working together for something really positive here. So nice to have that validation. Great. Gitty, I'll come to you next from Have a Hub in Haverfordwest. Nice to see you. I think I did mute you a little bit earlier, so you may need to unmute yourself.
A tickly throat, but I went to get my locket, so I'm okay. Yeah, no, lovely to see you all. Yeah, I've been jotting down notes actually as you've been talking about this huge challenge of getting good news and who and what the boundaries and who pays for it and who blah blah. So it was lovely to hear from Natalie just now with that edit. So I then started scribbling, oh, Haverfordwest's placemaking plan, if we ever get that far with our darling authority, should have comms need to be part of placemaking plan. You know, and I know everything's in little bits, isn't it? We've got little trails. So I was invited to Dawn and Zoe know Jeremy from Fishguard, and they were launching a heritage trail for the town of Fishguard, and they seem to have a lot of little positive people working together to make positive things to be more attractive to visitors and be more informative and inclusive to locals. So that was interesting how one kind of brief is for local benefit as well as visitor benefit and has a spillover into business benefit. And of course, we all know everything's connected. It's just like, how do we communicate that without blowing people's brains up? So, but yeah, no, it's a really interesting subject you've opened up here. And I think my first thoughts hearing you starting was for all of us is that how do we make space in our kind of life stroke head stroke bandwidth for any more news? So it was this feeling of, God, is this positive stuff got to come on top of all the shash and the white noise and the clutter in our lives? And it would be lovely to take the bad news out and implant the good news in. And then so it's such a interesting thing. I loved it when you said that the 5-year plan as well for the region, because I think as soon as you say to people, right, there's a 5-year plan, everything calms down a bit and you think, oh, this is something we can all find a bit of time somewhere along our own timelines to be part of or think about or read about. So I think that was a very nice sort of calming vibe about that. So, and it's really hard, isn't it? Because also you get little pockets of good news, which I think when you ask us all to introduce our good news, and I'm stalling a bit because I'm not sure I have any, but if you've got lots of pockets of good news from all the lovely things that you're all doing, it made me think of they're all little pebbles and we throw them all into the communal pond and they're all having ripples. And is it that is it good just to keep throwing those little pebbles in and you keep the water live with ripples and it uplifts different people at different times? It depends where it touches who. So it's difficult. Or do you have a massive boulder you throw in for, the big noisy good news, but that runs out of ripple quite soon too. So it's really hard. And who pays for the good news? Who pays to make it happen, and who resources it, time and money? And whose ears are we aiming at, and whose voice is being aimed at those ears? It's a massive question, isn't it? And so something I saw the other day, probably on LinkedIn or whatever, about you start regeneration with neighbourhoods. And so, and we all share good news over the years from very different organisations, thanks to your stamina for the region. So there's all these bits. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but it's a really good debate. But I do think maybe finding a way to, I don't know what the delivery method is, but maybe neighbourhood scale, small place scale, with things like the Swansea edit becoming a habit. So it's like making good things a habit, including actually noticing good news and having places that it's visible. So you've really got me thinking. Good news, we're just doing more of the same, having the same, ups and downs as everybody else. One bit of good news, meeting fantastically exciting new people, nothing to do with Have Hub, sorry, Dawn, but to do with hemp, which also goes into your, into I think there's an Ammanford factory as well, graphene. So I've just been having my mind blown by hemp bricks and graphene heat mats, and looking at how we move forward decarbonisation wise, with amazing local talent and companies. So I'm sort of excited about that. And I have just remembered one piece of good news, actually. So then I'll shut up. My one piece of good news is very last minute application. I've managed to land to be a pilot. There's 2 buildings in Wales. I don't know where the other one is, but 2 of us have been selected to be the decarbonisation pilot for, let me get this right, it's Cadw and the National Library of Wales are doing a study to help people that are in heritage buildings, organisations in any of our old buildings, towards decarbonising. So they want to make, toolkits and make the right thing easy with 2 guinea pigs. So we're one of the 2 guinea pigs.
Oh,
so
great to hear.
And that will
really
give
good
some
news.
design. So that's M&E design, which I had no way of funding. So that was quite exciting. So that was my
that's
news.
fantastic news.
Sorry about the big added essay, but you really got me thinking now. And all of us, I'm sure.
Thanks, Kitty. I've made notes as you were talking there, and resonate with what you said at the beginning about that sense of overwhelm. Like, we've got too much noise and too much information, so make space for the positive. And yeah, you've raised some good questions there, which hopefully others will pick up on. Thank you for that. John, I'll let you respond and introduce yourself and the Swansea Positive. And I know that question that Kitty was asking about who pays is always on our mind at Swansea Positive as well.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure it's on other people's minds as well. So yeah, hi, my name's John Franklin, and I'm involved in a CIC, fully volunteer run project called the Swansea Positive. There's a link to our website in the chat if you'd like to have a look. So we produce a print-only publication, which is full of positive stories about Swansea. We're currently distributing issue number 5. So over 5 issues, we printed 66 different positive stories about many different aspects of community life in Swansea, from volunteers at City Farm. The front page of issue number 5 is a bunch of girls who got together and organised their own social gang, because one of them was lonely and isolated in Swansea, so decided to do something about that. So we are online. We, as I say, the website's in the link, and all our previous issues are online. But we're proudly print only for our current issue. So we produce a newspaper sort of size issue. Yeah, it's available. So we printed 5,000 copies, and they're available in different locations, libraries, cafes, and other venues around Swansea. So if you guys would like some copies to distribute, then we'd be more than happy to provide some of those things. But yeah, the idea for this, we started in 2024, spring 2024, and the idea of this came from a desire to, as someone's already mentioned, just fed up of listening to lots of negative news and comments, and a passion about local community. So at the time, I was already subscribed to 2 national positive news magazines, but I'm passionate about local community, and that's what kicked off the Swansea Positive. So, and we see this as, this is not just a nice to have thing. Gitty, I think you talked about, where's the space for listening to positive news on top of all the other news we hear about. And I should say, actually, we don't position ourselves as a newspaper. We're not journalists, so we're not reporting news, but we are deliberately sharing some of the really good stories that happen in our county, because there isn't anywhere else that's doing that, apart from places, Natalie and other online groups that are doing some fantastic, doing a fantastic job in building up what's happening in Swansea. In our mainstream media, there's no space for that positiveness. So we see it as a not just a nice to have, but as a vital aspect of what Dawn was talking about. Trying to build a well-being economy and trying to build that positivity. We need to be hearing the positive stories about our city and our county, and it's a political with a small p act and a countercultural act to talk positively about somewhere where we live and work and have our leisure time, and it's important to do that. So we're going to carry on producing hopefully 3 or 4 copies a year. And if anyone would like to, we haven't got advertising in our paper, so we have a sponsorship model. So if anyone knows anyone or is anyone interested in sponsoring or being part of the Swansea Positive, then we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks, John. We had a chat recently on the For the Region podcast about local media as a radical act, and part of that is encouraging people to log off their phones, log off social media, and focus on something tactile and real and local. But yeah, it's great to see a few different publications, and hopefully I think there are others on the call starting up positive publications as well, and I think there's a question for all of us about how we collaborate and support each other across that growing network, and we're probably all facing similar challenges, but yeah, really, really important work. Great. Well, I'll come next to Mike from Brand Swansea. I know you need to leave at 2, so would you like to introduce yourself, Mike, and share your thoughts on this?
Hi, Dawn. Yeah, thanks for getting me in that slot there. Yeah, it's a big subject, and at the end of the day, this is the issue with it. Its impact is so wide, and tackling it seems like such a huge project for everyone, because we are up against, I think the issue is we're up against very large organizations that pretty much control the media that we take on board at the moment. Part of what Brand Swansea was set up to sort of look at several years ago, and Dawn will probably be aware of this from some of the other things that we've done in the past, was just to look at what it is, what are the stories that are coming out of Swansea and who's telling them. And when we looked at that initially, and reviewed the kind of feedback that Swansea was getting, particularly from established online news outlets, I won't go into any names, like Wales Online, for instance, but even some of the localized media and BBC Cymru, there was a lot of information being told about Swansea that was far from positive, can you say? And it seemed to be we were an easy target, really, to sort of, in terms of putting the boot in. That term that had come out of Twin Town many years ago, the kind of pretty shitty city thing, was something that had hung around and seemed like a really easy, it was a really easy way to sort of pin the tail on the donkey then, and we were always the donkey. And reversing that is quite a challenge, because those kind of media messages carry a long way, and they're very difficult to overturn when they've been around for quite a long time. So when you see programming coming out, national programs coming out about drug use and homelessness, and it's always kind of based down this way, and people come down and they film in those back alleys and those little dark places that every city has, which we know. It's not unique to Swansea by any means, but it provides a sort of backdrop that we are a certain kind of place, and it doesn't create any kind of brand for us then in terms of what we're really about. And I think that the whole idea of Brand Swansea was trying to first of all understand that, and then maybe try and overturn that, or look at ways of presenting an alternative to that general viewpoint of the city and of the area. It's not unique to Swansea either. I think you can scale that up to South Wales in general. Cardiff kind of gets a little bit of a better light shined on it these days, but that's fairly recent. So just South Wales and Wales in general has had a similar kind of issue. And if you look at the mainstream media, Wales Online is a Reach PLC group, corporate media outlet that's based predominantly in Canary Wharf. So our main online source of information about everything that we're reading is coming from, from far off, even though there's people on the ground here that are able to represent on their behalf. It's still very much, and it's a clickbait based system. We understand that, that's their model. There's no criticism of that. That's how they work. So the type of headlines that they produce are very much about creating advertising and click put through online. So that's quite a big machine to take on if you're local groups or if you're local media producers, and you're trying to produce and put into that line of media a more positive and alternative story, and to be seen. It's very difficult to be seen in that when there is a very loud voices out there, and you're coming along as a small group, possibly, with different ranges of revenues and possibilities in terms of how long you can be around for, your own consistency, being able to compete on that level isn't easy. So I think the point of all of this is that if we all understand what that story is, it's much easier for everyone to collaborate and to push it forward. And I think in the past, what we've been guilty of is we've mainly because of revenue, I think, and because of economics, we've been all led down a kind of a push me pull you situation. We're in a tug of war with each other, rather than all of the hands sort of pulling in the same direction and creating a story that is got constant momentum. Because within that, I think within the media world especially, consistency is what ends up being the key to it, is that there is a consistent and ongoing approach to telling not just good stories, but just telling their story, what that is in the area. It doesn't all have to be positive. We don't have to paper over the cracks all the time. There's nothing wrong with telling it how it is either, but owning that story rather than having somebody else tell it from a different perspective, I think that's kind of the key to it, is that we get to tell our own stories, whether they're good or bad. And when there's a drive to do that collectively, I think that becomes a lot more powerful than everybody trying to sort of compete in a space to be heard, and that's kind of it, really. Brand Swansea, I know some of you are aware of it. Brand Swansea's really initiative to begin with is to go out and look at and to try and amplify the voices of the independent businesses across the county. Those people that were trying to really make a difference in their own field, whether it was retail or otherwise, and to give them a platform that they would otherwise probably not afford, because it's an expensive outlay for a lot of people in terms of getting high quality social media and video production. Media production doesn't come cheap, so we were trying to pool that as a resource and put it in one place, and that followed then with the setup of a studio which we've put together down in Wine Street, which is here to try and bring people together around podcasting and storytelling and sort of online narratives, and is available also then as a sort of center point for that. And that's kind of it, really. It's what's next. It's how do we keep visually what I can see is a snowball. You keep pushing up the hill, and as soon as you stop, it starts to melt, and then you're back down at the bottom again, and then you've got to start again building it back up, and then you get it halfway up and you run out of steam or funds, and then it starts to melt and it rolls back down and you start again. And I think it's collectively being able to having the right momentum to get it over the top and build that sort of natural forward push that creates a bit of its own substance, and overturns some of these old hat ideas of where we are. At the end of the day, maybe, we should just not worry about any of it and just get in the sea and say, well, we're the lucky ones. So, let the rest of them sort of pontificate on what they actually think. So, but anyway, yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, there's some really interesting reflections there, and there's two things, I think. On the one hand, it's perceptions of Swansea and South West Wales from elsewhere. What are the stories that other people are hearing about our place? Where are those stories being created and what for? But external perceptions, and we're the lucky ones. Maybe it doesn't matter what other people think. But then there's that sense of identity that we have here about ourselves. And I started off talking about youth empowerment, which is one of our missions. You know, I want young people growing up in our region to feel proud and feel a sense of positivity and opportunity, and to understand all the opportunities that are on their doorsteps. So it's also that sense of how we see ourselves.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that's very much a show don't tell as well. It's about highlighting and showing that, you know, we don't need to explain it. When people see it, they start to go, oh, yeah, that's great. Oh, we're like that, you know. And that creates, you know, without us having to say anything, just showing that allows other people to see themselves perhaps in that role a little bit further down the line, you know, and that's really impactful as well.
Really impactful. And I know it's high up on the priorities for the Swansea Positive, for example, in choosing what stories to feature. It's stories that empower others to think, oh, well, if they're doing that, maybe I could get more involved. Maybe I could do something. So always choosing an empowering story over a disempowering one. And your reflections on that kind of global media dominance are well made there, about how bad news sells clicks and sensationalist headlines sell advertising. And so we've got a challenge on our hands to combat that media dominance, which is where we see the need for collaboration, because actually there are lots of positive voices emerging across our region, social media influencers, content creators, organizations, news outlets, and perhaps if we can be better connected with each other, sharing each other's content, creating that momentum and consistency across a broad network of voices, that's probably the sort of collective momentum that you're talking about there. Really interesting. Some good comments in the chat there as well. Great. Who should I come to next? I've lost my sense of order a little bit here, but Robin Griffiths from University of Wales Trinity St David, I'd be really keen to hear your thoughts on all this.
Hello, hi Dawn, and thanks for inviting me. A bit last minute, but I was so glad I had the time, so thank you for that. I don't know where to start really. I suppose I love people. I just, you know, growing up in a relatively bohemian background, hippie parents and all that. I love people, and strangely, every facet of my professional career has been framed by that. Whilst I didn't appreciate that for the longest time, I got into business and industry because I found I had a natural affinity with leadership and management. But then I realized when I was trying to get all of my best staff to leave the company to follow their dreams, having to sit down with a managing director, being asked, why are you hemorrhaging the talent? Because I felt that that's what they needed, you know, and that, so yeah, I love a good story. I love upskilling, and I love seeing people do the things they're passionate about. And that's what initially drew me to For the Region, you know, speaking with Zoe and Dawn. And it's that collaboration, as we've spoken about. I am spinning so many plates, and that's not me saying it as a bit of a whinge. That's me saying that's the only way I ever want to live my life. Going to these events, popping out to see this person, that person, or asking if someone wants help with something has been the most galvanizing and ultimately self-serving thing one can do as well. Because as well as seeing someone else, you know, feeling happy about something, what ultimately happens is that you will meet someone. You offer an assistance, and through serendipity or kismet or whatever, you end up having a chance encounter. And every time I do anything with or for someone else, something ends up happening. And anytime I've spoken with yourselves, Dawn and Zoe, I always say, make sure now people are recording all of these interactions and the established collaborations and connections that are being formed because of events like the Startup Expo and It's Your Swansea. And I don't even know about what's going over on It's Your Pembrokeshire. I'm sure it's happening over there as well. But, you know, I've just been asked to lead the research on something which I'm intensely passionate about. And it's all about how the arts can have a positive impact on health and mental well-being. So a beautiful book just came out called The Art Cure by Dr. Daisy Fancourt, and it's all about how the arts, and not just painting or playing music, which is my background, actually my actual background. If I got rid of my thing, you'd just see I'm in a room full of guitars. That's my office. Um, it's not just about music or creative arts like painting or drawing. It's about reading a book for pleasure or going to visit a cafe with friends. All of these things can be considered arts in one form or another due to the way that they have a psychological impact on us. And we believe that to be the only sort of impact, but there's more and more research coming out about the physiological effects that these sorts of experiences can have on us. And I've just so happened to be asked to lead on a piece of research in Swansea, a collaboration between Circus Eruption and Anxiety Hub Wales, assessing this from an academic perspective, because obviously, as an academic in my role, running the undergraduate business programs in UWTSD, I have the chops to do that now, which is fantastic. And the only reason Karen Chalk from Circus Eruption was able to reach out to me was because I was stood there staring up at the sky at a For the Region event. That is it, quite literally. The fact that I know Anxiety Hub Wales, that was because I went in there looking for a t-shirt at their charity shop. It's a whole thing. But again, I went into the charity shop and I saw all the big the like checks around the top of the room where their funding had come in from like the National Lottery. And I was like, who does your funding now? Who looks for the funding for you? You know, who puts in the bids? And it was just a team of two. And I was like, right, can I help? Is there anything I can do to help? I think this is fantastic. I know lots of people struggling with anxiety and complex PTSD. Yeah, okay. And then I ended up working with Kimberly and Sarah. And through that, you know, okay, I offered some help and some assistance, but what I've received in terms of having the opportunity to see beautiful things being done by beautiful people for beautiful people, it's just wild. So putting yourself out there is just the easiest way of being included in something fantastic, something that will have a lasting impact. And it's interesting, you know, we've all got, I know, busy lives, just it's a unanimous thing, isn't it? But when you know your friends and family can see how busy you are, but they see why you're that busy, and it's because you're trying to do something nice. I see these people in this virtual room, and you know it makes me quite emotional. The interesting thing, though, I think moving forward, because we're all on the same page, so how do you get people to drink the Kool-Aid, as it were? Um, so my students, I've got hundreds of students studying undergraduate business, finance, accounting. And at the beginning of last semester, I thought, right, screw this. I'm not doing chalk and talk for another 3 years. It doesn't work. Or it works in a theoretical sense, but I want these people to feel more hands-on. And so I did a questionnaire with them that I called the Red Pill questionnaire. Um, well, it's shameful how few of my students have ever watched The Matrix, but that's by the by. But I said, look, if you want to take the blue pill, you take the blue pill, you wake up and you believe whatever you want to believe. I'll chalk and talk you for another 3 years. But if you take the red pill, you can stay in Wonderland with me and I'll show you how far the rabbit hole goes. And by that, what I meant was I will give you these real experiences. I'll link you up with live projects and I'll put you in the pits. You know, you can be doing the work that ultimately you want to be doing once you've procured this qualification. 100% of my students took the red pill. They all want to feel something. They want an experience. However, I've noticed in the 4 months since then, there's a disconnect with those that say they want something versus those that actively get involved in those projects. And this is the struggle that I'm now having. People want to do good things for good people, but it's about facilitating scenarios and situations and environments where they feel comfortable putting themselves forward into these roles. And I think working with people like yourselves, showing that these opportunities are fruitful, not just for them, but for the people around them, because everyone likes making other people feel good. I believe that. So working with the people in this room and anyone else that wants to come into the fold, celebrating the successes and telling those good stories and the bad stories, like Mike said, because there are some, you know, there are some, not even looking at the global stage, that's a shit show, mind my French, but you know, even looking locally, there are some fantastically beautiful things going on and some things that we definitely need to learn from. But yeah, you know, like the Barcelona anarchistic uprising of the late 1940s, I think if we bandy together and constantly have an open dialogue with no rhetoric and no hidden agendas, then yeah, I'm for it. And just massive thank you again to For the Region, because you guys, you're doing God's work. Not that I'm religious.
Thanks, Robin. Inspiring words. You are a very positive person, and that energy shines through. And it's one of the joys of this network, is bringing together amazing change makers and passionate people from across South West Wales. As you say, we are all on the same page, and yeah, feeling like we're all working together for something really important, which does connect with the experiences that students are having and where they see their future opportunities, and empowering them to feel like they can participate, get involved, and build flourishing lives and organisations here in our region. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And you were talking particularly there about the well-being impacts of well, culture and arts, but also the impacts of the media that we consume on our well-being and our mental health and our anxiety. And there's definitely research that shows that all this negative global media is making us mentally unwell, and actually we need experiences and content that makes us feel well. So really important, interesting perspectives there. I can see you want to come in again very briefly.
One last thing I'll just say is that I've managed to source through the university and sort of collaboration with Welsh Government. We are going to be launching a number of new intern opportunities. So if there's any of the organisations within the call, I've already spoken to Zoe about it. There is the prospect to have a student working with you on a specific project over the course of the year, and the students will be paid through the internship thing. So if anyone would like additional assistance, or you think there's opportunities there for students of an undergraduate programme, and that's throughout the entire university, not just business students. So feel free to reach out. I'll put my email address in the chat or something, and that could be nice.
Thank you for flagging that. That's a great opportunity. Brilliant. Thanks, Robin. Eliane from SETMA, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining the call. I have a feeling that SETMA have got some interesting positive news projects in the works. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm not sure if you're there or if you can unmute. Eliane? If not, I will move swiftly on to Jacob from Swansea Bid. We'd love to hear from you. I know Swansea Bid, Swansea Business Improvement District, is all about amplifying why Swansea is a great place to do business. What's your perspective on the role of positive news and local media?
Yes, most definitely. I do appreciate quite a late attendance, so I missed the first half an hour or so. But yeah, thank you. It's been some insightful comments already. Yeah, definitely. We've got quite an exciting year ahead during bid. Obviously, we're in the process of renewing the bid for hopefully a fifth term come July onwards. But there's no. It's quite difficult to ignore the impact that the positive news has on particularly the high street. You know, for obviously being that we're kind of linked specifically to the city centre, it's quite important that we're able to perpetuate that positive news. And obviously, everyone in the room here does a very, very good job of doing that by all our means. Obviously, well, Mike mentioned in terms of that kind of positive uphill kind of snowball, it really is a kind of a tricky task to commit to from everyone, because yeah, there's so much coming in from all angles. It's quite tricky. I'm not sure if anyone here has been following, but I've been following quite closely recently, since they established early last year. But there's an organisation founded by a lady called Laura Harris called High Street Positives, and they do some phenomenal work in generating positive news around the high street specifically. Again, obviously, a lot of our focus is within the city centre, and so yeah, they do a phenomenal job in terms of getting organisations from across the UK and highlighting the positive news that ultimately generates that vibrancy and attractiveness for city centres, and kind of wider areas in general. But they produce some interesting statistics from some studies that they'd done through other channels, and found where people do receive that kind of positive outlook for news on a consistent basis. 85% of people want to visit that kind of high street location, whereas where the news is predominantly negative, it drops to around 35%. It has a massive impact on people's kind of inclination to visit a location, whether it be for specific retail environment, but more so as just a general kind of visit area, so to speak. But city centres are kind of rapidly changing. But the fact that Swansea specifically over the kind of past 12 to 18 months has seen an incredible increase in interest from not just kind of local independent business openings, a lot of F&B, might I add, but from national brands as well. We've just learned about the change of hands on the old Zara unit. Some information will be shared over the coming months with that. But even though being a bit chicken heavy on Wine Street, so to speak, I know there's a lot of people kind of chasing that chicken street narrative. It is all positive news, and the fact that Swansea is being seen in that light and by nationally and internationally recognised brands, it says a lot. And even the moves themselves of those brands generates a kind of sonar ping to other businesses that are looking for places for investment. We've had a phenomenal year. We've had Rituals, we've had Skechers, and all the other F&B businesses on Wine Street. There's a considerable amount of redevelopment going on as well, and hopefully we'll have all the units on Cupid Way as soon as that car park's open and filled. So there's loads going on. I think it is quite tricky to tackle those kind of, not to name names, but negative outlets for news. But I think, yeah, if we're able to perpetuate that positive news between us, and kind of whether it be through a kind of a centralized point for positive news, or whether it be just kind of as a network in general, I think, yeah, we can definitely combat that in a way that overpowers any of the negative news, definitely.
Thanks, Jacob. Yeah, you make a really important point there about the economics, the economic impact of positive news. And I suppose thinking about it from that inward investment lens, which it's an important thread in terms of how we feel about our local high street, whether we're going into local towns for our shopping or buying everything online. Positive local media has an important role to play. And I think in particular, social media influencers are playing a big role. You mentioned food and beverage, so restaurants and food reviewers of all shapes and sizes across social media, really amplifying great stuff that's opening in their local towns and high streets, and encouraging people to visit these independent local outlets. It's an important economic driver for the success and viability of local businesses. So yeah, I mean, there's the important role of perceptions of the city and not talking down Swansea city centre so much. And there are some really great voices on social media that are increasingly stepping up with the positive to combat some of the negativity. So yeah, I think bringing in that business improvement district perspective on the importance of positivity for the economic viability of our local places and for that sort of local economic drive is a really important piece of this.
Definitely. Just to kind of add to what Robin mentioned, obviously, I'm a Swansea University graduate, and I've been working for the bid now for just over a year. For context, for anyone who I haven't met in person before, I actually met Dougie, the current bid manager, at a 4theRegion event in 2024. So if it wasn't for 4theRegion, I wouldn't currently be employed at bid and doing, helping to assist the amazing work that's done by all the 800 businesses that contribute towards the bid. And so, yeah, it really is important that we kind of have these opportunities to connect between university undergraduates and graduates and kind of local businesses as well. I can add, I'm from Ebbw Vale in the Valleys. We had quite a significant downturn in terms of the high street environment, so to speak, with the closure of a major festival park. And so coming from that perspective and moving to Swansea back in 2021 for university, and then staying on for a master's and staying on because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Swansea really is an attractive place for graduates. I can say that kind of hand on heart. There was no kind of doubt in my mind as soon as I was set up and my bedding was made in the first week. I was kind of like, I'm stuck here now for life. It's kind of my place. And so I always kind of have the tricky conversation with people when particularly in relation to kind of the reduction in terms of retail spend is a conversation topic, where I'm from a lot of university graduates nowadays are from the age group in which I don't know what the high street looked like when we had the department stores. And so, I think in my entire life I went into Debenhams once, and I worked in Swansea. It was and possibly Cardiff's. And so for me, particularly with Swansea in the past 5 years, it's done nothing but go uphill. It's been nothing but positive. Obviously, there are kind of things that happen, and they are always going to be, regardless of the wider environment, they're going to be kind of negative, so to speak. But as a whole, Swansea's only been on the up in terms of in kind of my time horizon of Swansea as a place, and as a place that I'm living in particular. So, and that's not just in terms of the high street and the city centre specific, but wider Swansea. We've got some amazing green spaces and amazing opportunities for graduate retention in Swansea. And so, yeah, I think it really, particularly from a kind of a slightly younger perspective, it's not to make targets with anyone in the room, but definitely it is an attractive place. I can say kind of from kind of that recent university activity that it is somewhere that university graduates want to stay. And I'm glad to hear what Robin mentioned in terms of the opportunities for linking up with the education sector with local businesses. Obviously, we just had the kind of Swansea Pledge as well, just recently that we attended the event of. So yeah, there's loads there. And yeah, Robin, if you want to connect up after this, I'm happy to kind of share any information with our network of 800 across the city.
Yeah, great to have your first-hand experience there, Jacob, of being a student, being a graduate, and finding your place here in the business community. And we always love to hear how those connections get made at the events that we host to bring different sectors together and highlight opportunities. So thanks so much for sharing that. Really, really encouraging. I'm going to bring in Andrew next. Andrew is one of our colleagues at For the Region, and his role over the last 5, 6, 8 years has been to put together the For the Region monthly newsletter. What's your perspective on some of this, Andrew?
Obviously we're sort of changing direction of what we're doing with the newsletter anyway. So, but yeah, definitely, yeah. There certainly needs to be a way of getting more positive stories out, and like I say, basically you say everything I was going to say anyway to introduce myself. But yeah, I do think it is very important, like, to work out exactly how the best way to get sort of positive news out and to communicate with people, and the best ways. I was thinking, obviously there'll be different newsletter, but I was thinking whether you could just have like some kind of like specific news website which would be sort of doing daily news stories, as opposed to sort of more broader kind of sort of positive news, where that kind of thing might work as like an outlet. But yeah, I don't know. I'm basically I'm just listening to what other people are saying, really. So
yeah, we're listening.
Trying to feed it into what I do. So
I think what Andrew's saying there really is that it's an ongoing conversation for us here at For the Region of how best to fulfill our mission around positivity and local news. And we've published this really, really extensive roundup of regional news headlines every month for many, many years. And it's a great resource, even looking back at how much positive stuff happens across South West Wales. But we're in a period of reflection, which is part of the motivation for a conversation like this, to think of, what is our best investment, what is our best role to amplify positive news and to support the sector to collaborate. So yeah, really interested in thoughts and feedback, and we're listening attentively to the discussion today. Thanks, Andrew, for being here. Catherine, lovely to see you joining us from Plantasia. What do you think? Why do you think it's important that we have positive news and local media?
Oh, well, there's just so much good news about to share, isn't it? That's the great thing. I mean, I'm, a bit like echoing what Jacob was saying. I moved back to Wales 16 years ago, and when I think about how the city and the area as a whole has developed in that period, it's immense. What things that have been talked about for many years have especially of late have just really happened, haven't they? Then there's just so much good things going on everywhere, but not only the new stuff, it's also all of the existing businesses are constantly developing and changing and improving and giving locals and visitors reasons to really be proud of the area. I think there's so much to celebrate and shout about all of the time. Then yeah, we should definitely be doing as much of it as we can. I mean, we are always very, very positive little bunnies in Plantasia Tropical Zoo. It's very much a big part of our own messaging, really, about celebrating, I guess, for us, the wonder of nature, creating positive experiences for people and really inspiring change for the better. So yeah, and I think I know I've had the opportunity to work and meet with many people on this call actually, and that has come through kind of a combination of the events that you guys have held or being on these Zoom calls. And yeah, I think in the last few years in particular, kind of from local media, I do feel like, a lot more has popped up, and we've certainly been approached by a lot of more local news outlets, for experiences to share those really kind of good news stories, and we just think they're wonderful. So yeah, and I don't know, we just are generally very, very happy, positive people. But I do think we also have that responsibility ourselves as individuals to make sure that we do scroll as quickly past the negative stuff that we don't want to be seeing, to make sure we don't get tempted by the clickbait that Mike was talking about and things like that, and just to kind of just keep scrolling past it. But then when we do see these positive local stories, to like it and to engage it, don't just look at it and scroll on, let's react. And it's not always possible to share, it's not always going to be in line with your own business and things like that, but we can, there are other ways we can engage that just help those little messages kind of do a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And collaboration is the key there for the sector, and the role that we all have as individuals and as individual organisations to be part of a more positive and empowering picture, and to share each other's messages, as you've mentioned there. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Catherine. As you say, you're always very positive, and always loads of exciting stuff happening at the zoo, and that's part of Swansea's offer, which increasingly we want to amplify. This conversation, by the nature of people on the call, is particularly Swansea-centric today, and Swansea has a role to play as a regional centre, and encouraging people from across Carmarthenshire, Pembrokeshire and Neath Port Talbot to visit the city and to feel more positive about Swansea. That's a really key audience for those more positive visions and messages about what is happening here. But probably those empowering and uplifting stories need to be uncovered right across South West Wales. So really interested to hear, either on this call or if you're listening to the recording, please spotlight for us those people and organisations who are shining a light on positivity across the 4 counties, so that we can connect those dots regionally. talking about connecting the dots regionally, Eve is joining us from Red Kite. I'm really pleased to share with you all that Red Kite, which is a firm of solicitors, has come on board as a regional partner for the region in the year ahead, which means that Red Kite will be supporting all 4 of our county discussion forums and playing a really active role as a growing regional business in those conversations about the future of South West Wales. So big thanks to Red Kite for your support. Eve, I don't know if you're able to unmute and introduce yourself, but we'd love to hear your thoughts if you're there.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so I'm marketing assistant at solicitors. So we're a long-established law firm with strong roots across England and Wales. So we're on 19 offices now, and our most recent one we've just opened in Princess Quarter in Swansea. So that's one of our 3 offices in Swansea. So we're proud to serve that community, supporting individuals, families and businesses with clear, practical legal advice. In terms of what positive news means for us and what we believe it to mean for the area, I'd say it's about building the trust, sort of humanising businesses in a sense, creating that conversation, and sort of it's collaborative, but also it's using that to sort of be individual as well and put your name out there and to build that image for yourself and collectively, through conversations and networking, that would build the positive image of the area, if you see what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm standing in today for the business director. But yeah, if you have any questions, do let me know, and I'll probably be able to answer them a bit better than just talking at you.
No, lovely to meet you properly, Eve. Thank you for joining the call. And yeah, that's an interesting angle on this, is the role of local businesses and the benefit for local businesses in being involved in those kind of more positive outlets and messages about the local area, the local business community, and coming back to what we were talking about with Jacob about the importance for economic development of positive messaging about business activity in the region, and shining a light on the good local firms growing in the local economy. So yeah, we really appreciate your support and looking forward to collaborating over the coming year. I think I've invited everyone to speak. My colleague Amanda is on the call, so we'll hear a little bit more from Amanda later on about our upcoming event. Uzo, I don't know if you would like to share.
I'm here, yeah, just to say a little hello. I'm
Hi.
from Race Council Cymru, everyone. Sorry, I can't show my face. I've just had surgery, so I'm not very well dressed. But Race Council, we deliver anti-racism training, some leadership training, and we maintain a multicultural hub, which has about 29 diverse ethnic groups in the arts wing of the Grand Theatre in Swansea. And we host Black History events, multicultural melas, showing the diversity of the peoples who live in Swansea or born in Swansea, who have heritage from elsewhere. So it's been wonderful to keep working with 4theRegion for so many years. As you know, the current climate is very hostile to Black, Asian, and minority ethnic people. The threats of race discrimination is high. We support a number of businesses who report all sorts of difficult news, but also alongside, we are seeing the growth of many Black-led businesses. So we've got a new business that started in Swansea, and it is a business that's supporting elderly people living in their homes. So sort of providing social care workers from diverse ethnic backgrounds, Filipinos, Zimbabweans, Nigerians, etc., to help as domiciliary care workers. So, we're very, very hopeful that we can continue to share. And, the support we've had from 4theRegion has been immense. And I've known Dawn for years, and she always steps in to come and support and work with us. So if you do need any kind of training on inclusion, etc., and also Robin will be in touch. I was a trustee I was on the board of the UWTSD. I finished recently. So we'll love to have somebody work alongside us in the charity. Thank you to you all. It's so great to hear your businesses and to hear how we could possibly connect. That would be great. Thank you, Dawn.
No, likewise, Uzo. Yeah, thank you for that. Great to see those connections being made in the room as well. So for our last 15 minutes, I'd love us to break into just smaller groups to share a little with each other around next actions, like what is needed. So we might want to look at what's already working well, and we've all got eyes on different parts of the puzzle there. But just an opportunity in a smaller group to see if you can co-create some ideas around what could we do as a network here for the region, across the 4 counties of Neath, Talbot, Swansea, Carmarthenshire and Pembrokeshire. What is needed and what could we do? So this is an opportunity for a bit of blue sky thinking and ideas, but from each of our different perspectives and reflecting on that diverse and rich conversation that we've already had, what could we do? So I'm going to invite you to jump into a breakout room. You should see an opportunity on your screen to join a breakout room for 5 minutes, and then share your thoughts and ideas with each other, and then we'll come back into the group. So let me know if you need help to join your breakout room, and we'll bring you back in 5 or 6 minutes. Anyone need any help?
Hello and welcome back. You were clearly all having really juicy conversations because nobody wanted to come back till the bitter end, which is great. Thank you. So we're sorry to disturb you, but as time is ticking on, yeah, I'd love to hear from some of you about what you discussed in your rooms. What sort of next steps or ideas did you come up with in your little breakout rooms? Maybe a hands up if you'd like to go first, or I could pick on somebody. I don't mind. Oh, Natalie, well done.
I don't mind. I think it was just, the main driver of the conversation that we've had so far has been about sharing the positivity around the area. Always in line, always being ever mindful of that there are challenges that we as a city, as a town, as a county face, as do all major cities and towns, in fact. So I think it's about countering that narrative. It's an outdated narrative that kind of follows South Wales, perhaps Wales as a larger collective. Then I think it's about countering that and showing people, look, yes, we're aware of the challenges and it's not easy, and we've got to learn from those. And I think as well, as I was talking to John, is that it's about also people need to see themselves in the stories of the city. So I was really keen to perhaps chat and meet, chat further with Uzi, I think it was, Uzo, so that we can kind of have a conversation about how we could, in our magazine, for example, that's what I've always been very keen about, is I wanted the magazine to represent all of Swansea. So people that have moved here and made it their home, I would love to include their stories in our page, because that's really important to us, rather than it just being the one voice that is always heard. I think people need to be seen in order to feel that they belong, to have that sense of belonging. So that's where we're coming at it, is to continue sharing those positive stories, whether they're through the charities that I speak with, or the businesses, or the incredible individuals that are doing something great all the time. But it would be great to chat with the professor and just see how we could perhaps marry the two and ensure that those voices are also heard in equal measure through our pages and with our readership. I think that's very
thanks, Natalie. That would be fantastic. Yeah, I loved what you said earlier, that you use your use the Swansea edit as a love letter like,
My
so
love
how
letter to the
great.
city.
Yeah,
I
that's
try.
fantastic. So I think collaborating with Uzo and getting other voices around and other stories, yeah, brilliant. What a beautiful collaboration. Thank you for that,
Yeah, we'd love to
Natalie.
do that. Thank you.
Great stuff. Any other reflections from another Zoom room?
Just to say, I've got to run. I'm sorry, someone's just coming in for a meeting. So I'm going to love you and leave you. And I've put a thank you in the chat.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Gitty. Bye.
I mean, one thing which was where actually was Katie suggested it, but obviously saying maybe like a full region newspaper. Well, I mean, I thought it was kind of like what I was thinking about it anyway. The idea, although maybe well, I don't know, she might have meant something a bit different, but the idea of a full region newspaper, so there'll be different people as columnists contributing stories to that, and maybe doing some of that because I don't know, because obviously like the newsletter itself is kind of changing direction. So if there was like maybe some kind of like
Nice.
news done in a different way, so yeah, I don't know.
Very cool. I like the sound of that, Andrew. Yeah. Thanks for picking that up from Gitty. Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. Having people, maybe our For the Region members, to write some bespoke articles for us and stuff. That could be a really cool idea. Thanks
yeah, we have that with the Swansea edit, so I think that would be if you can sort of incorporate other voices, because that's much what we have as well. We have a group of collaborators that bring their expertise and share their stories. So I think to further amplify those voices via For the Region with your members would be really valuable as well to your greater membership.
Yeah, thanks. Great idea.
Might I add,
Jacob,
not to kind of go on, but I mentioned obviously earlier on High Street Positives. I don't want to kind of promote them too much because they are a membership organisation, which I'm not a member of. But they via their newsletter, much like what we're mentioning here, they allow anyone who kind of follows them to input information on a monthly basis. Any positive news relating to kind of any sort of environment, particularly obviously around the high street. And I feed quite often into any sort of major developments going on in Swansea and kind of particular interest from kind of new businesses investing in Swansea. So yeah, any kind of format that we could take like that, I think there's particular value in having a kind of centralized Swansea Positive kind of channel, so to speak, or kind of, that kind of platform. But by any means, but I think I was saying to Catherine once we were in our breakout room that I think there's particular value in having that positive news demonstrated across the network specifically, and having the promotion of the individual news, whether it be related to the specific organisation or not, or whether it's just general positive news around the wider city, being perpetuated by other members of the network, because it's more authentic. Through an individual channel, it's quite hard sometimes to combat those that might not align with a specific organisation or might not fit within that specific audience. And so having us share something that Swansea Positive is doing, or Plantasia sharing something that we're doing, and kind of broadening that audience, having that social proof sometimes behind the positive news presents it as a kind of more valuable to kind of the recipient of that news. So yeah, I think there is kind of a high amount of value in that, and yeah, I think it's worth us continuing that and kind of propelling each other's kind of information.
Yeah. It's a more trusted source when it. Oh, sorry, I was going to say it's a more trusted source when it's coming from somebody else rather than you saying it yourself, isn't it? So yeah, it is just kind of, and I know we're all really, really busy, and it is, it isn't always the easiest thing to do, but it is that little bit of engagement, that little bit, if it's relevant and you can share it, it means a lot. It really does mean a lot.
Absolutely. It's a really important piece of the puzzle, isn't it? To be able to just like tap and share, or reshare an article or something. It's really important to help keep that positive voice going out. Is there any other comments from anybody from their Zoom rooms? I was just going to mention that actually, there's different newsletters that go out, and there's newspapers and magazines and things like that. and social media, and that's all a really big part of the puzzle of amplifying positive news and stories. But also, our events are a really good place to be able to champion and shout about the positive things that are happening. And you know, we started It's Your Swansea in 2019 in the sports hall at the leisure centre because we were fed up of the negative news that was hitting Swansea all the time in the papers. It was a real two fingers after that. It was one of the core reasons why we started, because we believe that there are people and businesses and organisations within the city and county that, you know, that are doing great things, whether they're starting up a coffee shop or a plumber's merchant or whatever it may be that people are doing. They're doing it because they live where they live and they love where they live and they have a family here and they want their family to thrive and they want to feel positive about where they live. And that's why we started It's Your Swansea, to bring that positive vibe to the city. And you guys are complementing that with your different publications and social media and everything that you're pumping up out as well. So this is a really, you know, I hope you feel like I do, that this is a really positive conversation to have and something that we need to keep amplifying and keep coming together over the next year and beyond. Which sort of, again, fits me nicely into Amanda, what's happening at the It's Your Swansea conference?
Thank you, Zoe. And we were just saying in our breakout room, yeah, what a positive chat today has been. And I think it is about creating that ripple effect where everybody then feels more confident and like feels a sense of pride really about where we live. So yeah, the timing of this coincides perfectly with our annual It's Your Swansea event, which is on Thursday, the 12th of March at the Arena. I know there's a few of you already on the call here today that's exhibiting. So we got Plantasia big to joining us again, and our new regional partner, Red Kite. And hopefully many of you others will be able to come along on the day as attendees. There's plenty of tickets left available. And we'll also be launching our new local business directory, Choose Local. So that's a showcase of all of the fantastic organisations that are in the region. So yeah, we've still got a few slots left in there. If anybody would like to feature in there, our exhibitors will automatically be included. So yeah, it's going to be a really exciting day. The leader of the council is going to join us again, giving his yearly update. So he'll be revealing some exciting developments. So yeah, really looking forward to having you all there. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. And this year's It's Your Swansea event is incorporating the Startup Expo as well, which is another way in which we're trying to encourage positivity, is in supporting those people who are thinking about starting a business, connecting them with the support that's available, and putting forward that message that Swansea wants you to start your business here in our region, and we want to support those entrepreneurs and businesses across the county and the 4 counties. So it's going to be a really exciting day, Thursday, 12th of March. So book your slots to exhibit or be in the directory or attend, but do get involved in some way. We'd love to continue bringing people together. And it's always a great event in the calendar that brings people together from business community, the third sector, community organisations, young people and students, teachers and schools, bringing everybody together to amplify all the good stuff that's happening. And this year, as Zoe mentioned at the beginning of the call, we're running an open agenda, which means that there'll be 20 or potentially, if there are enough, if there's enough interest, maybe 40 different conversation slots happening throughout the day, broadly aligned with our 5 missions, but really on any topic that people bring to the agenda. So people will be able to put their question or topic for discussion on a big whiteboard and then host a breakout conversation around that topic. So we're really hoping for a very interactive day, lots of new connections being made. And as positive news and local media is one of our missions, if anyone on the call today would like to host a discussion or co-host a discussion on this topic to continue the conversation we've been having today with a different breakout group of people in real life in Swansea Building Society Arena on the 12th, then please do that. We'd love to encourage you to participate in that way. And we've got our whole series of county discussion forums scheduled for the year ahead, taking place in Pembrokeshire, Carmarthenshire and Neath Talbot. And all of those will feature that open agenda opportunity, but they're also an exhibition opportunity to bring people together into each of our 4 counties to connect the good stuff, showcase what's happening and collaborate on creating thriving and resilience for the future. So we're excited about the year ahead. I know we've kept you a little bit longer today, so apologies for the meeting overrunning, and thank you so much for giving up your time to come and chat to us. We'll write this up into a blog for our website, and as I say, this conversation continues, so stay connected with us, and please keep sharing each other's positive news. Our WhatsApp community is a member benefit, so if you're a member of For the Region and you're in our WhatsApp community, that's a great place to share your positive news and make that request if you'd like others to share it or like it on socials. I'm sure other members would be happy to do that, and that's just one of the ways in which we can support each other. Thank you for being part of this positive movement for South West Wales. We look forward to continuing to collaborate and hopefully see you all on the 12th of March. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and thanks so much for your time today.
Bye all.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now,
Thank you all.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.